The mind-body problem. In philosophy, there is something called the mind-body problem. What is it? What's it all about? Well, it's not about whether we have minds, not about whether we have bodies, not even about whether we have a mind and a body. No. What it's about is a particular idea about the mind and the body that presents some difficulty. What is it exactly? Well, in the history of thought, there have been those who have made a distinction, claiming that our minds are something that are not physical. Our minds or our souls exist in another dimension. And our bodies are physical. And this presents something of a problem as to explaining how it is then that things that are not physical can relate to, interact with, cause consequences in things that are physical. One of the foremost thinkers to make this distinction so very, very clear was René Descartes, who said that reality consists of two very different types of substances: physical, extended in space and time, matter, and the non-physical, spiritual, that have no physical properties, not extended in space and time. How then does a mind interact with or get a body to do something? It's obvious to Descartes, as it is to people today, that the mind, if we make a decision to wave with our right hand, is going to somehow be dealing with the brain that causes the impulses that get the muscles to expand and contract and wave. But how exactly would that happen if the mind was not a physical thing? It wasn't very long after Descartes published his work that there were critics who raised the question. And Descartes thought that in some way this mind that was not physical could cause the, well, in the brain, which was examined and its parts identified, Descartes knew that there was in its center something of which there was only one, the brain having two sides where things are duplicated. He thought the pineal gland was like the center where the mind, being not physical, could come in and get the brain, which is physical, to do things, like send the signals that cause the hand to wave. It appears so obvious to us all that there's this close association between the mind and the body. I experience a pain and I feel it, my mind reacts to it, and I make a decision to wave and my hand does it. So where's the problem? Well, it's this. If up in the brain there are all these neurons that have ganglia, and at the extended end of them, the dendrites, how does a mind, if it is not physical, cause the, well, electrical stimulation through the exchange of sodium and potassium ions in the brain to get this neural cell to cause, ultimately, a whole series of interactions that produce my hand waving? If the mind is something not physical, like a ghost, well, a ghost moves through walls. The mind, if it was going to get the brain to do something, would have to be able to touch it. But if it's not physical, it will pass through, like any spiritual, non-physical thing passes through material. That is the mind-body problem, made more complicated by everything we're learning about the brain, that if we cause chemical, electrical, or physical blows, stimulations, or disturbances in the brain, it produces changes in the body and in the mind. If the mind were not physical, why would physical changes in the brain produce those changes in the mind? Think of anything a mind does: remember, calculate, make decisions, make judgments, have feelings. And you know, if you cause a blow to the brain, put chemicals in the brain, lots of people do this, the mind is disturbed in its ways of calculating, or changes in its feelings and its abilities to remember and what have you. That shouldn't be the case if the mind were not physical. So that is the mind-body problem. How can you go on maintaining that the mind is something not physical. The body with its brain is something physical. The mind-body problem.